Joining me now live in studio, Robert Ike. Robert is a city council member, the city of Chesapeake. He also is a small business owner. He owns Century Security, which is our security company in our facility, our studio in Richmond. By the way, Robert, we just hired a new employee that's going to need a new code. So I'm gonna text your son a little bit later on today. And thanks for the great job you guys have done for us. Great company.
Well, I appreciate it, John. A little plug for us there. We're a third-generation company. Actually, it started 32 years ago in a bedroom of my house, and I'm really concerned about what's happening. We have the inability to get into people's homes to do service work, sales. We can't get into businesses. Heck, 25% of my company has chosen to stay home because their kids are out of school. So I'm hoping that this lockdown doesn't last more than a few weeks because it could be very difficult to recover. I've also fielded numerous calls, especially from restaurant owners, who are saying the same thing. They built their businesses from scratch. They're working 80 hours a week, and then this hits. Some of them have laid off over 100 people. I have one restaurant owner that has 3 locations, and all his trained people that know his menus, know how everything works, know his computer systems, know his processes, they just walked out the door. Now, whenever this clears up and if he survives and he asks them to come back, a lot of them are going to be on to other jobs. And he's going to have a whole new ramp up of training to get his business back where it was. I think this is a lot of overreaction. I'm not sure if I kind of find it hard to believe that we have actual people in our government and our elected positions that would want this to happen to ruin the economy for the upcoming 2020 election. I don't want to believe that. I find it hard to believe, but there's part of me that says that may in fact be the case.
All right, so Robert, in your business, in particular, and some of our friends here, the governor yesterday calling on the 30-day moratorium, shuttering all these businesses. He calls them non-essential or where the virus could spread: restaurants, bars, nail salons. I mean, I could go on and on. He closed Colonial Downs, racetrack, casinos, anything where people can congregate just shut down. But he's also closed down retail stores.
Yeah, I think it's extreme, particularly the 10-person per restaurant rule. Well, of course, that doesn't matter now. They've shuttered everything except for takeout and delivery. But prior to that, the governor's edict was 10 people per restaurant. I don't have a problem with that if you have 1,000 or 1,500 square foot restaurant. But if you have a 10,000 square foot restaurant with 4 different dining rooms, why couldn't you have 10 people in each area? That was my biggest problem. Was the ruling that came down wasn't well thought out. It obviously, if I had been the governor, I'd have brought in 8 or 10 business owners, restaurant owners, that type of thing, and said, how can we mitigate our possibility of transferring this virus in a restaurant? Again, spreading people out, reducing your seating by 50%. Something very simple. My son lives in Japan. Is when you go into a restaurant or you go in somewhere, they take a thermometer and bounce it off your forehead, and if you're 99 degrees and above, you don't come in. If you're 98.6, you come in, they squirt your hands with sanitizer, and you enjoy your meal. Again, with reduced seating, but still, it's working.
How tough is that? Why can't we do that?
I don't know.
I agreed with the governor's position to close the schools down, only because you just need to bring certainty to what your family's doing. So I kind of got that, and I understand it. You can't go every 30 days, or what are you doing with your kids? So now they brought closure to it. But I thought the 30 days of shuttering businesses is a terrible decision. And 10 people was bad enough, but even people are adjusting to that. Like, okay, with 10 people, I can still get some revenue in the door, and maybe I can get through the next month and not die or not have my business die. But now you just put them down. I mean, do they understand that these companies will get no revenue? If you're a nail salon, a barber, a hairdresser, you'll get no revenue. So your company goes under. I mean, if you don't have any revenue, you can't pay your bills, you can't pay your salon people, you can't pay your employees, and your company will fold. Don't they get that?
Apparently not. And I think this whole attitude of shutting everything down just seems so simple. But those decisions are being made by bureaucrats and people that, to be quite honest with you, have never signed the front of a paycheck. They've never had to make payroll. They've never had to look somebody in the eye and say, look, I have to lay you off, knowing that that employee has kids at home, has a mortgage, has a car payment, has electric bills, has expenses that you just cut off their income. And it's insane.
By bureaucrats that don't really understand the significance of what is happening. And I think the president laying out yesterday saying, look, this is weeks, not months. I'm going to give another 8 days. We're going to see where we are from there. But he said, I'm inclined to open things back up. And basically, what he laid out yesterday, Robert, and nobody wants to deal with this because it's uncomfortable. What he laid out is right now, the fatality rate is under 1%. He says, as of right now, it's about 0.7%. And he said, as we increase the test and we find out that more people have tested positive, the percent fatality is going to go down to about where we are with the flu. And obviously it's affecting our seniors, so there's got to be extra precaution there. But you don't tank the economy for something that is going to end up having the same fatality rate as the flu. How does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense at all. Both my parents, who have passed away recently, of course not from corona, but when they were in their early 80s and the flu season would come around, they would self-isolate. Towards the end of my father's life, he was on chemo, and we walked in the door. There was hand sanitizer. There was face masks. We sanitized up. We put on a face mask, and we spent time with my father until he passed away. But you take individual precautions. I'm almost 60. I have underlying medical issues, diabetes. So I'm on that list too of people that are in danger.
Right.
I take my own precautions. If I'm around anybody that acts like they're sick, I distance myself. I wash my hands constantly. I just think that crashing our economy is such a reaction to something that we should be treating as the flu. We should be self-isolating if you're sick. Don't come to work if you're sick. Stay out of public. Isolate if you're in the threatened group. There are so many things we could do besides crashing this economy and putting so many people out of work. And just the thought of my business, third generation business, could be crippled to the point where I may not be able to work anymore. I may not have a company. It may just be me again.
Back to when you started in your garage.
Exactly.
Your bedroom.
Bedroom, yeah.
Your one bedroom. Right.
Yeah, could
because
go back
obviously
to that.
if you have no revenue coming in, you can't pay your employees. And then your employees go and they've been trained, and then you can't pay your bills, and then you get all sorts of expenses due. You can't pay your vendors. And then what happens?
Well, another hidden thing there is if we get back and the economy starts to come back, all my customers are also struggling financially. So they watch their penny. Oh, we don't need that camera system. We're going to hold off on that access control system. We're going to wait on that security system. There's so many other ripple effects that will cripple my business.
Well, you're the last to get paid.
Yeah.
The other thing that people don't understand, it's the receivables. Like your company could be doing good right now on paper, right? Mm-hmm. But then you're not going to get paid. Doesn't mean you're not going to get paid forever, but you're not going to get paid right now because they got to pay their mortgage, rent, feed their family. So cash is going to get conserved. And so vendor bills like advertising, it just isn't going to get paid on a timely basis the way that's been in the past. So if your business is based on that, all of a sudden you look one day and your receivables are, they were 10%, now they're like 95%. You have no cash.
Yeah, that's pretty much what will happen.
I mean, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And see, people that are making these decisions that don't run businesses, Robert, have absolutely no clue whatsoever. All right, you're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Robert Ike with us. Robert, you're also a city council member of Chesapeake. You're up for election. Chesapeake has local elections in May. Was it like May 3rd or something?
May 5th.
May 5th. Are those going to get canceled? What happens?
Well, it looks like the governor may ban in-person voting, which means that everybody's going to have to vote by mail.
Does the governor have that authority?
I believe he does. He can shut it down. As far as moving the election or postponing it, the governor can do it for 14 days. and the state Supreme Court can do it for 30 days. But it's one or the other. You can't do a 44-day extension. It has to be 14.
So it's either 2 weeks to May 19th, or a month to June 5th, which basically coincide with the primaries, or the governor could just say, we're not going to vote at all, and you'll have to mail it in or something.
Yeah, I think that's the way we're going, and I would actually
mail-in ballot
would urge people to do that just in case that's the governor's decision.
To get a mail-in ballot.
Mm-hmm. There is an exemption, the exemption 2A, which allows you to vote absentee, which is because of an illness that you can't go to vote. Of course, this corona would qualify as that. If you don't want to be exposed to it.
It's possible that the Chesapeake municipal elections and other local elections across Virginia, if the governor cancels them, then they would have to be done through the mail, through an absentee ballot.
That's correct.
But there's a cutoff to absentee ballot, so all this would have to be announced. I mean,